and welcome to Jim and Ben's Movie Adventures. My name is Ben, and with me is...
Aloo the Bear.
Because this week we watched Rudyard Kipling's The Jungle Book.
And here's the thing, it's not Rudyard Kipling's The Jungle Book. This is a movie that I'm going to call clear stupidity. And I'll tell you why in just a second. But hit us with a synopsis first.
Easily done. Hey, guys, we know the story, but I'm going to go over it anyway. In 1880s India, young Mowgli is separated from his father's regiment during a tiger attack and is raised by wolves in the jungle. Years later, as a grown man, he encounters Kitty Bryden, his childhood friend, and discovers a connection to the world of humans. Mowgli is captured and taken to a British outpost where he struggles to adapt to society, but gradually regains his ability to speak and communicate. Meanwhile, Captain Boone learns of a legendary treasure hidden in the ancient city deep in the jungle. Obsessed with finding it, he manipulates those around him and exploits Mowgli's knowledge of the jungle to guide the expedition. As Boone and his men pursue the treasure, Mowgli must protect both the jungle and Kitty from their greed, leading to a final confrontation with Boone and the tiger Shere Khan. The Jungle Book. We know it. We love it. It's a different take on it.
It's not the same story. That's the thing. Like, it's just, I'm almost sitting here exploding. You're like, it's the Jungle Book. I'm like, it's not the Jungle Book. It's just not. Tell us about the production facts so that I can start to actually unleash a little bit here.
Guys, trust me, don't let Jim taint you later on. It's just the Jungle Book. Released in 1994, directed by Stephen Sommers, Van Helsing, Deep Rising, G.I. Joe, Rise of Cobra. We know the spiel by now. Screenplay by Sommers, Ronald Yanover, and Mark Geldman, based on The Jungle Book and the second Jungle Book by Rudyard Kipling. Cinematography by Juan Ruiz Anchi. Starring Jason Scott Lee, Kerry Yules, Lena Headley, Sam Neill, and John Cleese. Music by Basil Polidaris. Now, we've encountered Basil before. Do you know what movie?
No.
Starship Troopers.
There you go.
He also did RoboCop as well, which is pretty cool. Runtime of 111 minutes. Budget of $30 million. And as with these kind of older generation of movies in the 90s, Box Office Mojo only has a total, which is $43 million at the box office. Now, before what I'm sensing occurs, I just want to say this is a lovely take on a literary classic with some silliness, with some love in it, and I, for one, enjoyed this movie.
Well, good for
Jim?
you. I didn't like this movie. And look, thing is, I'm a Stephen Sommers guy, right? I'm the Sommers guy, and I thought I would like this movie. I've never seen this movie.
Oh, really?
No. And I therefore had zero nostalgia for this particular take on the movie. I watched the movie. I did not like the movie. However, to circle back to what I said at the start, I agree with you in the sense that this movie is very clear about what it is doing. It's just that what it is doing is stupid, in my opinion.
I'm so glad. Not often is this role reversed in our podcast. It is clear, and it has a vision, and it all is things, and it is. I'd have to think one of the first live action adaptations of The Jungle Book. I think there's one that's a bit older.
There's one back in like the 40s that I think was pretty popular. So
yeah, but as I did say too, I think what is key a little bit to this is it's not just based on the Jungle Book. It is based on also the second Jungle Book, which is a collection of poems and stories, in that it borrows the treasure story from that book, and it borrows some of the adult Mowgli stuff from that book. But a lot of it is inspired by the Jungle Book.
It's completely different, Ben. It's like there is a story with some treasure in it. Nothing like what we see in this version of the tale.
Is there a bear called Baloo? Is there a panther called Bagheera? Is there a King Louie? Is there a pack of wolves? Is Kaa in it? Okay. I'm just saying.
Here's what I'll say. Here's some things that I thought were interesting about the movie. I actually didn't mind, and I quite enjoyed the animal stuff. The fact that they don't talk didn't bother me, and I quite liked that kind of pseudo-realistic take, even though yes, it's a little bit silly at times with the animals, but I felt that was a little bit charming. The thing that got me though was that part that I liked is a tiny fraction of the movie, right? And I was like, this is kind of interesting and this is kind of a bit different. And he's got these friendships with these animals and that's cool. But again, a tiny fraction of the movie. This is a movie that doesn't have much jungle in it for the Jungle Book. This is
A
a
lot of
movie.
book.
It's it's a lot of people in the city functionally talking to each other, and he's falling in love, and it's all of this human story, which I just didn't find any of that particularly engaging. I'm kind of interested anytime we go on a treasure hunt. So, therefore, by the time we get to Act Three, I was like, I like a good treasure hunt. But obviously, by that point in the movie, I'm so disenchanted with what's going on, it didn't really hold too much for me anyway. There's also just stuff like, again, if you are in the movie, if you are like completely with it and enjoying yourself, what I'm about to say matters not at all. But if you are not enjoying yourself, then it's a very different experience. So Baloo gets shot, her dad gets shot, and they're fine. They're
Oh,
fine. They
the
both just
doctor
like,
saves him
it saves him. How? The dude got
through
shot in the middle
through
of the Indian
through
jungle.
doctoring.
And so Sam Neill, love Sam Neill, by the way. Not going after Sam Neill here. Just saying that like he goes through I'm about to die to I'm feeling a little bit better to I can ride an elephant and make some jokes now, all without actually receiving any medical treatment, right? This actually happens in the
The
movie.
jungle is a mysterious place, Jim.
Don't
Where
you mysterious place me. Don't you mysterious place me, buddy. This is not something that I really enjoyed at all. I was not having a good time of it. I also, you know, the I didn't like it. That's just all I didn't like it. And I
I
wanted
have
to
a
like
note.
it.
I have a note here. I think you might appreciate. Halfway through this movie, I'm like, is this My Fair Lady in the Jungle?
A little bit. A little bit.
It's a mix between like My Fair Lady, Tarzan, and the Jungle
There's a
Book.
lot of Tarzan in here. There's a lot
Yeah,
of Tarzan in here.
a lot of Tarzan.
But look, I didn't really understand why this was called the Jungle Book functionally. It didn't have,
There's a kid called Mowgli in it, and
yeah.
he's in the jungle, or at least for some of it.
It's a little bit like me making a movie called Star Wars and setting it in suburban Australia.
Yeah,
That's
but if
that's a
you
little,
touch space a little bit,
yeah. If he looks at the stars
and
three
the guy's name is
times
Luke,
in the
you've got it.
movie, it's done. Okay, it's Star Wars now.
Look, I obviously do enjoy this movie, and part of it you tapped on it earlier. I do have some nostalgia for this movie. I did see this movie when I was younger, and this movie also ran on TV kind of semi often back in like the late 1990s and early 2000s. At least the TV I was watching. So I kind of remember it. I also have a soft spot for the actor Jason Scott Lee. He was the guy who played Bruce Lee in Enter the Dragon, and for some reason, I've always connected these two movies in my mind because of him. Um, I I don't know what it is. I do find this movie a little bit enchanting despite its structure and its content. Like it's like a little bit of magic for me because I get every argument you're making. Every argument you're making is the truth, um, but it doesn't matter to that corner in my brain that goes, "I like this." Um, I I had fun trying to figure out when the animals were really there with the cast and when they weren't. That was fun. I mean, obviously, pretty much any time that tiger is on screen, they're not together. But coincidentally, they reckon they used over 50 tigers in the making of this film, and over 200 different animals total, including 14 purebred wolves. So, hey. But yeah, I don't know. I forgot John Cleese was in it. John Cleese makes anything better. I didn't make the connection that until I watched it this time that it was Lena Headey. Obviously, she kind of came back to us with Game of Thrones most recently, being Cersei. Lena Headey, sorry.
Heady. I was
Really?
like, I'm not. Yeah, I was like,
Why have
I'm
I
not
got
gonna. I was trying so hard to be good and not correct you, and then you did it twice, and I'm like,
Headey?
I can't let it go twice. Her name's
Damn it!
Hetty.
It is Headey. Damn it! Why do I do this to actors and actresses? Why? Lena Headey, Game of Thrones, Cersei Lannister. I thought that was kind of neat to see. Like, this is like her fourth or fifth kind of thing she ever did.
She's very young. She's got to be like 21, 22,
Yeah,
something like that.
like it is like it's obviously clearly her when you look at it, but yeah, I don't know. Like the story is just kind of it tickles my brain. Sam Neill is, and look, I love Sam Neill too. Useless in this film. Anybody could have played that role and it would have been the same. But he's really, I think, there more for his narration voice at the start and the end.
Yeah.
And I think it may be one of the best villain roles in a movie like this that I've ever seen. I hated Kerry Yules in this
Yeah.
movie. Like, he is
That
despicable.
he is maybe one of the bright spots of the film for me because it was really fun to see him play this over the top, literally mustache twirling villain in
Yeah.
this movie. And we would see him do that a little bit later with some other roles, but at this point, again, I hadn't seen this movie. So for
Yeah.
me, my journey with him went from Princess Bride straight to Robin Hood Men in Tights. And then you realize that, oh, this is in between. And this is
Yeah.
kind of a vital part of his
His journey.
whole on screen persona. So that part was interesting for me to see him, in that sandwich between those two other roles that I knew him in very, very well. I did find that maybe the thing that interested me the most about this movie was just like with A Little Princess, this is the proto Stephen Sommers. And
Yeah.
that part was interesting to me because while I didn't really enjoy the movie, he is someone who has a pretty unique voice as writer director, and you can see a lot of things that he will call back to later in his career arrive for the first time here. The treasure sequence at the end and
Yeah.
exploring the tombs very much comes to mind, where you can look at the Mummy just a few years later and say, oh, we're definitely borrowing from ourselves here, as the sand and the traps
I was going to say there are
fill
even
up
some
the room.
shots that are very similar.
And then the ceiling starts to cave in. I'm like, oh, okay, that's the Mummy. The idea of going back and being greedy is something that the heroes almost do, and then the villain is actually doing, and then we see that in the Mummy. The idea of just exploring the tombs and the jungles, we're seeing that back in Mummy Returns, so it was kind of cool to watch the first version, kind of like what we were saying with Alfonso Cuarón with A Little Princess,
Yeah.
where we say, okay, this is him working kind of as a director for hire. We can't fully see his unique directorial voice, but we can see little glimpses of it. And that was the part that maybe I found the most fun about this movie.
Yeah, it definitely, like that scene with the collapsing temple and the scene with the sand and that kind of whole temple part of it there is like the beginning of the Mummy. Like it's the genesis seed for the look and feel of that movie for sure. And that's the first thing I thought of. As soon as I heard the seal on that sand pop and it kind of hit him in the face, I'm like, I actually feel the connection to that. Also, like talking about the temple, maybe, and we don't have a lot of films where this kind of happens, but maybe this is the most kind of brutal end to a villain in a movie that we've watched. Like the ending of that film, or the ending of his kind of part of the film, is just by a step of things just getting worse and worse and worse. Like it's like a dunk, dunk. Like first of all, he gets he kind of has all the treasure and he starts sinking into the water. The snake scares him into the water, and then as he gets to the bottom of the water, he can't undo it, so it gets worse. And he looks to the side and he sees other people who've fallen into the exact same trap he's fallen into and didn't make it, and it gets worse. And then it kind of just cobras him and gets worse again. You're just like, they really wanted to do that kind of childhood, almost like Disney thing of like bad people don't get what they bad people get what they deserve. Like it really kind of hooked that in there quite a lot. I also want to give a special shout out to one of the sidekicks of the villain in this movie. I forget, it was it Wilkins.
Yeah, it would be Jason Fleming, right? Yes.
He played a person breaking down in the jungle and uselessness. Mwah, chef's kiss. Like his meltdown was fantastic.
It was nice as well to see Jason Fleming again this early in his career, because we'd see him again later. And I think you're right. He is a standout performance in the film. So that was fun to actually see him in this movie and doing that work. In a way, as you say, he's kind of a standout performer because they're giving him all this material to just slowly have this nervous breakdown in the middle of the jungle, which he does really well. And you're like, wow, this is actually interesting to watch.
You kind of see the steps, like he's at the campfire and they're hearing the wolves.
And then he accidentally shoots the guy because he's so like caught up in his
and he's just getting wetter and wetter as the kind of think of it, and he just jittering and losing his marbles.
He reminded me a lot of Bill Paxton in Aliens. You know, game over, man, game over.
But Bill Paxton started competent.
Yeah, that's true.
This guy was never competent. Because it's almost a bit like, and it fits a lot more in this movie. But we were talking about it in A Little Princess, in that comedic person in the film whose sole role is to provide levity, in the sister in A Little Princess, and in this movie it was this guy. Like his only position was to give that moment, and like he didn't throw off any other moments because it was a serious thing and that sort of stuff. But I like that person in a film like that. Their role is clear, right? Their role is to kind of, you've got this melodramatic villain who is just pure evil, and then you've got this guy here who kind of counterbalances him a little bit by just being ridiculous in a different way.
Yeah, no, he was great. So maybe, are you turning me around on the movie? No, you're not. You're not turning me around on the movie. We're just discussing elements that I also happen to enjoy. This was also something where it definitely felt like a 90s family film. So if we're talking
100%
things that I am somewhat nostalgic for, 90s family movies, there's something that are definitely a thing of the past. We don't get them anymore. We get kids movies that are just for kids, which sure might have some grown-up jokes in them that go over the kids' heads, but that's not really the same as a family movie, which is what this was, which is the idea that we are going to create something that the whole family can go along and enjoy, and it'll have a little bit of everything. And I think obviously the way that society has gone, it's become a bit like the moments where the guy's getting eaten by the snake or the guy's going into the quicksand. That is the idea now that, well, we don't want our kids looking at that necessarily. Whereas in the 90s, it was a bit like, oh, that part's for the grown-ups. The kids will be fine. It's just a small moment, you know? So
we were fine.
Yeah. So it's just an interesting way of looking at the idea of making a movie for everyone. So you can definitely see that DNA here, and that was something where you go, yeah, okay, this is a family movie. So I also wonder if Stephen Sommers was somewhat restrained, because then he moves into The Mummy and The Mummy Returns, and you sort of feel like he's been unleashed a little bit. He can go to the darker places that maybe he is always instinctually wanting to go to, but within this wrapper, he can't, because it is a family movie. There's only so much he can do in that space.
When you said family movie, you actually unlocked a thought for me, and it is, it might get a bit, follow me here. It reminded me of a stage show at a theme park at parts. So, like in Dreamworld, did you ever do the riverboat ride? And as the
Mm,
riverboat goes round, you see the cowboys do the whole like fool's gold show and they do a
yeah.
gunfight and everything like that. There were parts of that that felt like almost like with the animals kind of running across the stage and popping up here and there. It almost felt like a, a ride or stage production at a theme park because of the way, like, obviously the sets are in some parts very clearly sets.
Yeah.
It kind of just felt like that kind of a bit of it. You felt the staging. And you should never really feel the staging in a film, but I think that comes down to the sheer amount of animals they had in it. Like, if you think about it, what are the rules? Never work with animals or children.
Yeah.
It's
I,
really
I looked
what
at the opening 20 minutes of the movie and I was like, this must have taken a long time and driven everyone insane.
because they don't do what you want them to do, or they don't do it how you want them to do it. So, like, especially with animals, you try to use them as sparingly as possible. As soon as you get them to do what you want to do, that's it. You keep it simple, or you shoot lots and lots and lots of coverage, and both those can be painful processes. Um, so yeah, so I don't know. It's just I'm super glad I picked this film, and I'm super glad I picked this film because we do disagree. Because
Yeah.
we don't often, like, we do disagree at times. I'm usually the one who's the contrarian. Um, I want to also talk about. I looked it up, and I made sure I was kind of right on this. This was coming almost out of a period in cinema where movies didn't treat animals the best.
Yeah.
Like, this was kind of moving into the kind of hyper vigilant era that we're kind of in now,
I hope
where
you're going to tell me some good things because I thought about this.
I couldn't find anything bad.
Okay,
I
good.
looked.
I literally, I do.
Doesn't mean
I'll let you finish, but I literally thought about that as I was watching the movie, and I went, "I'm not going to look because I don't want to know in case there was a problem with the animals on the movie. It would have just kind of been heartbreaking if there was." So,
yeah, I couldn't find anything which actually kind of surprised me. Because, as I said, this was the era of film where, like, yeah, there are rules in place, but the quotation marks were pretty heavy still, especially when it came to animals. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to say, like, I couldn't find any specific stories about animals having a bad time on this film. Um, so I just wanted to clear that little bit of air for this one here, because it is a lot of animals.
yeah, yeah.
Like, there, especially the scenes in the temple with the monkeys. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure they're using the same 20 monkeys over and over again and just shooting them around. But yeah, um, the one adaptation from the Jungle Book that I was kind of actually bummed about was King Louis. Because,
Really?
well, King Louis, in most other Jungle Book adaptations, is really, really interesting. And in this, he just felt silly.
I actually was going to say again, wow, it's contrarian day because I was going to say highlight that as how amazing that they got, what appears to be an orangutan to emote in that way and actually perform, if you like. I was
Oh,
going to say that,
performance was great. It's just the take, I think, of the way they took the character.
yeah, right. So, well, I mean, I wonder if there's only so much you can get an orangutan to do in
Yeah.
terms of performance. But I was going to say that, particularly, that animal performance, which feels weird for me to say, but generally speaking, given that there's no CGI mouths or
Yeah.
they're doing touch ups around the eyes or anything, because it was too early for all of that, and it was really just training the animals to look a certain way and do certain things. I thought they did a really good job of that overall, and you could actually see character in a lot of the animal performances throughout the movie, which would have been really, really hard, I think. So, however they did it, they did a good job of managing to get that to read for us on screen of what they were supposed to be, quote unquote, thinking in each moment.
Yeah, there were, I think, what was it here? There were over 15 independent training animal companies that worked on the film. So, like, because, like, I'll kind of deep dive this. In the animal training movie world, each trainer usually does an animal or a type of animal. So, like, there would have been a wolf guy or a couple of wolf guys. There would have been a bear person. There would have been a panther person. There would have been a monkey person. They all have their niche in that kind of industry. I was actually curious to see if it was Bart the bear in the movie. It was not Bart the bear in the movie. It was a different bear. But yeah, it is. It is. This movie would have been hard to make. You said it earlier, and I think that deserves acknowledgement to a certain extent because it would have been real. The first, at least half of this movie would have been really hard to make. When you get more human, obviously that becomes a lot easier. And I wonder if that was a deliberate choice when kind of pre-producing this movie and writing this movie of going like, if we have animals all through this movie and we have a kid all through this movie becomes impossible to make. We need to age him up and we need to kind of sideline the animals and make it a more human story to actually make this movie makeable.
Well, I think as well, definitely you can see the whole thing gets easier once we get to the human city, and the whole thing gets cheaper as soon as we get to the human city as well, because there's people in rooms talking, and we're on location and also on sets, but we're not having to do half as much in terms of the animal stuff and getting out in the jungle and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it definitely makes a certain kind of sense. But ultimately, did you have any final thoughts on the Jungle Book? I think I'm at this point where my final thought is I obviously didn't really like the movie. I am glad we watched it though, and I do always respect it, particularly for being the proto Stephen Sommers adventure film that we would then see replicated a lot later on, but then also saying, look, this movie would have been hard to make, and people enjoyed this movie. I'm not actually saying it's bad. It was just a little bit baffling in the sense that it didn't feel like the Jungle Book to me. And it was also a bit not really something that captured me in terms of an audience member. But if you look at the things we usually look for and we say, okay, well, structure, story, character, that stuff's all there. It's just that it wasn't gripping me. It wasn't holding my attention throughout the course of the film.
I've said it before on other podcasts.
What do you think, Margaret?
Why am I Margaret?
I don't know. I felt like I was being very David.
Also, hyper Australian reference.
I know it's very, very unique. If you actually, it's not even just Australian. So for anyone who doesn't know what I was just talking about, two long-serving film critics, Margaret and David,
legends,
who are legends, but they are not on the air anymore doing their show and haven't been for a number of years. And I just slipped into the role of David and assigned you Margaret for a second. Look it up if you don't know them. They're my two favorite critics. I used to watch that show all the time. I loved their back and forth. So, and when they went off air, we decided we'd do it ourselves because
I'm like, Jim, I'm Margaret, you're David. We have to bring this back. Yeah, look, I enjoyed the movie for what it was. None of your criticisms are wrong. And I think the difference comes from me having seen the movie as a kid, having kind of really just enjoyed it and found it magical then. And that little bit of magic still exists for me now. I've said it on a podcast before and I'll articulate it again. I always seem to enjoy a movie when I feel like they've achieved what they set out to achieve. Like their visions probably stayed strong from start till end. You're right. This would have been a hard movie to make in parts. Animals, children, even some of the set stuff and them moving through it and all that sort of stuff. Kerry Yules is starting to become a bit of a goat of our podcast. We just enjoy anything he does, which, I mean, shouldn't surprise anyone. He's really good. It just feels like he gets a little bit forgotten sometimes. But yeah, I'm super glad we watched it. I'd forgotten a lot about this movie, but I remembered enough. And it is definitely a movie few years from now, maybe when my nephews are a little older, we'll watch it again.
Yeah,
So,
nice. Well, why don't you tell the good people of the interwebs where they can watch us if they are enjoying what we're doing? And I am then going to tell you what we're going to look at next week.
If you want to listen to or watch anything we do, it's pretty simple. Jim and Ben's Movie Adventures, YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes. Use those words, you'll find us. We have a good back catalogue now. There's a really, really good chance we've watched a movie you like or hate and want to see us discuss. So check it out, see what we've done. If there hasn't been a movie you want us to watch, let us know in the comments, because when you do find those things, you can leave a comment. You can tell us what you want us to watch. You can tell us why you liked The Jungle Book. You can tell us why you didn't like The Jungle Book. You can also like it and subscribe to it, and you'll see more of what we do, because we do this every single week, whether you're watching or not. If you want to follow us on social media, you can do so in a couple of places. Jim_and_Ben for Instagram, and Jim and Ben's Movie Adventures on TikTok. Now, Jim, where is our adventure taking us next?
Look, we've done a bit of a series recently, and we've been looking at Stephen Sommers as a director. This is now the third film of his in a row that we've looked at. And I just wanted one more.
Oh,
I just want one more. So
G.I. Joe.
you're going to be very happy because I am choosing G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra. Or maybe Cobra. I don't know.
Yeah,
Depends.
Cobra felt weird.
I do feel like they say Cobra in the movie, so maybe we'll do that. Look, this is a film that came out in 2009, and I have very mixed feelings about, and I haven't seen it recently. So therefore, I thought it was a really good pick for us to check out in this coming week. I wonder if it has aged well.
Is this the first or second one?
This is the first one.
The second one has the wildest start to a movie I've ever seen in my life. But
I
anyway.
actually genuinely quite like the second one. And
because they wipe away the first one.
But the first one is also just super unique and odd, and I think it deserves our attention. So I hope that you enjoy joining us for G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra next week.
Continue with us on our Stephen Sommers era. Bye, guys.